And it's the same thing that I remember pushback against when, battle passes and like content passes first started rolling out. It's
Mhm.
like you're buying either a DLC that doesn't exist yet at all. You're buying a promise, like it's like for pre-order, or you're buying DLC that was part of the main game but pushed off to make money, to sell as extra content. And this is like that next level, right? It's like I'm buying a game knowing full well that I may not be able to access it anymore, or I'm playing like a free to play online, like Fortnite or Pokemon Unite, or list any free to play game. I'm putting money into it, buying skins or whatever. That's basically the same as me throwing the money in the trash, because eventually that game will go offline and I do not have access to any of those purchases at all.
When Genshin
Like at
Impact
some
shuts
point.
down, billions of dollars are lost.
Yeah. It's already lost. You've already spent the money. The loss is already happened.
I mean, but like really lost.
Yeah.
You don't even get the thing you paid for anymore.
Right. And so like the fact that there's no recourse for that at all, and this conversation's long overdue in the industry. Like we had the wool pulled over our eyes by the new shiny thing. And now we're just accept that everything's online and we're just renting everything anyway. And we need to stop that.
Yeah, I'm fine with renting through things like Game Pass because I think that just makes logical sense.
Mm-hmm.
But if I buy your game,
I want access to it.
I want access to it. And honestly, that's like in my mind, and I know this is a dirty word online, but in my mind, the ownership of video games is the only thing that I can understand how an NFT could technically work and actually provide value. Is that you have this. And then if you want to sell it, you can take it to other like you have this license. This follows you around through this wallet. And then if you wanted to sell it, you can. And that would, then there could be a smart contract baked into that so that as a part of the resale of your license or the gifting out to somebody saying, hey, I'm not playing this game anymore. Why don't you give it a shot? Be able to freely exchange that through the blockchain was the only thing I could logically see with the NFT where it isn't screwing over customers and it isn't a bunch of fake hype. But they'll find a way.
They'll be like, oh, we're only making 1 million of these, and now we have a 15% smart contract. So every time you sell it, we get 15%.
So
and now the game is $3,000.
This is kind of
if the price goes up, that like I don't see any issue with the smart contract in that regards. Like
I do.
Hey, I sold you a game
and horseshit. It's digital,
and then you sell it. Yes, but at the same time, like I get where the value is for the publishing company because why they've gone away from physical because like they sell and it can resell and they never see a dime of that.
So what you're talking about, we've heard Microsoft pitched this with the Xbox One and it got them so much blowback because people didn't want it back then.
They weren't ready to show it too. Like to be fair to the people, it's like I was like, oh, I see what they're going with. They should have showed it working because they talked about being able to trade your games digitally and all that aspect.
The infrastructure wasn't there. And
infrastructure wasn't there.
Now you have blockchain.
Imagine if they just said it was that simple. You're like, hey, I finished playing this game. Here's my friends list. Let me just gift that to him and boom. Then it's over to your friend. It's like, that's how you trade games. It's so easy. It's over. You don't have to be in the same physical space. It would have made PlayStation's whole joke fall flat because it's like, why do we need to be in the same space? We don't even live in the same state. I don't need to pay shipping. Now I could just press a button and it's yours,
Now we have game key cards on the Switch too that essentially are that's your NFT. Like you own the license in your hand.
How many people can you let borrow your key cards before it bans your console forever?
I think it's infinite. I think it's as long as that card
that's what I'm waiting. That's my next Switch 2 nightmare. It's like
you only got to buy like 4 more Switch 2s before we can figure it out.
I want someone to get like 200 Switch 2s and see how many game keys they
how many times it would
get banned.
Yeah. I'm just waiting for my Switch to be banned, like for no random reason. Like it's just I think that's the next thing that can happen. That would be like we get back on the podcast. What's Brian's Switch 2 tragedy story today?
Turns out your entrepreneur children are buying MIG switches and just dropping them in your Switch 2.
Maybe just start making those Joy-Cons out of whatever they make the Glocks out of. So they don't break so much.
That's what I'm saying. Like I'm
Works
interested.
underwater.
I'm interested in like now I'm really interested in like third part, like somebody else coming in and making a pro version of the Joy-Con that it's like, yeah, it's like, oh dude, that pissed me
Dude,
off.
okay,
I
so
was
like
sour.
you know, shopping on Amazon, you're just buying. You got to like pay attention to who's selling what. So my Switch 1, I gave to some friends of mine when I got my Switch 2. I was like, here, GameStop's not going to give me much for it, and you guys had a lot of fun when we played Mario Kart. So here, you can now buy Mario Kart, play it. And so I gave it to them, and they were like, hey, we need some more controllers. It's like, well, I would recommend. I'm always first party. Like, I would just rather have not Mad Cats. I grew up buying Mad Cats controllers. I don't want that anymore, right?
Mhm.
So looked on Amazon, and the knockoff Joy-Cons look identical to the actual Joy-Con. So I think at that point, you could just buy some Joy-Con ones on Amazon for like 20, 25 bucks. They're going to work the same. It's pretty much the non-Nintendo branded Joy-Cons at that point, and you get the same performance. So that's an avenue you could go down.
Yeah, we'll see, because there's a couple things on the Switch 1 that I was like, oh, they feel like they have, and I was like, I never pulled the trigger. I kept putting them into my cart and just never got. I was like, I have this natural fear of like third party like accessories, but it seems like, you know, for the end of the day, like there's been some really good improvements along the way. Let's wrap up the show with kind of what we're playing. Let's start with Scrag. What you been playing? What you got? What's on your catalog?
So I bought some Final Fantasy games on the summer sale. I got 16 and 9. I've never played 9 before.
Ooh, a lot of rumors about the 9 remake too.
So I started 9 on the Steam Deck a little bit, and then I started playing 16 and someone watching. So that's been fun, kind of like cracking jokes back and forth about like how annoying Joshua is. And then
don't worry.
Okay, don't spoil it, please.